Hello and welcome to
Hey, we like your pod.
And we're going to tell you why. Hi, it's Dawn here, and I'm joined as always by my trusted partner, Matt Pickett, and our special guest tonight, Matt Pickett's cousin, Brad. How you doing, Brad? How was your week?
Great. It was a great start to the week. I got to do a little golfing on Sunday in a charity outing, raising money for a good cause. And we had some Little League baseball games Tuesday and tonight. And and I found a great golf training spot for the younger golfers last night. So I had my kids out there yesterday, and we had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Brad, what kind of charity were you raising money for? Tell us more about that.
Sure. So the outing, which was organized and put on by the bar and grill that my wife works at, Stone Toad, was raising money for the Just Jess Foundation. And the charity seeks to raise money to provide an opportunity for families who have a parent that has been diagnosed with a cancer, most likely terminal. It raises money for the family to go on a vacation together as a family. And the founder of the charity, his wife passed away. He was a guy I went to high school with, was a couple years younger than me. So always happy to support a local charity that's impacted people that we know. And it was a great day. The weather cooperated just enough to get golf in. Thunderstorms stayed at bay, and it all benefited the Just Jess Foundation. Anyone who wants to find out more about it can go to justjessfoundation.org and see what they're all about.
Very cool.
I love that. And we'll put that link in the show notes afterward too, so people can link to it. That sounds familiar to me. I don't know why. You're based in Wisconsin, right, Brad?
Correct. Yep. We're in the Fox Valley, just about 30 minutes south of Green Bay. I live in Neenah. Menasha is right next to us where I grew up. And then Appleton is bordering the two of them pretty much. So, yeah, it's good.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it sounds like you had like the perfect summer week with golf and baseball. Whatever, Pee-wee baseball or whatever.
Maybe cap it off with a little boating, and
wow.
Close to the perfect.
You're living better than me in Southern California. I'm just like.
How about you guys this week?
Yeah, Maddie, how was your week?
I'll go. Sure. Yeah. So, having a good week, I think I always mentioned like just making the grind through the summer orientation season with my students, but I saw a lot of really great students this last week. Weird day today. Some of our systems started to like get twisted and start to, show signs of the summer wearing on, but it makes for more interesting stuff because it's like you get in the groove and things get a little repetitious. So it's like, okay, now we have new challenges. So I'm trying to spin it positively, obviously, but no, it's good. I'm excited though because we have a vacation coming up, and in fact, I will be on the next two shows, as of course Dawn. So I'm gonna have some special guests coming in to fill in for me. So I'm looking forward to hearing those, in fact. Mm-hmm. But just very excited about that trip coming up. So yeah, I'm good. How about you, Dawn? How are you doing?
Yeah, well, it's been kind of a challenging week over here. Again, gosh, you guys are going to get so tired of this, I think. So, the good news is I went for my final post-op procedure the day before yesterday. So Tuesday, I did get released from my surgeon. Yeah. Yay. Still healing, but no more slicing and dicing anyway. So it was just kind of it was like a surgery and then a lot of little things afterwards that, were very unpleasant. So I'm really, beginning to be glad not to have somebody like shoving things up my nose for a while. It was sinus surgery.
Quote of the week, Dawn.
And then And then Tosh, as you all know, if you're following the show, Tosh has a serious health problem she developed last year, and it involves a GI bleed, and it's never really been resolved. Well, just to make things real interesting, something happened with her automatic feeder this week where she ingested broken shards of plastic. And this is so weird because she's such a picky eater. I don't know how she ate those, because she's like, eep, eep, eep. Like she doesn't gobble her food or anything. So I found out unpleasantly 2 mornings ago because she spit up. And then when I was cleaning it up, it was like, oh, that's great. It looked like glass, actually.
Oh, geez.
It's kind of, and it's not thin. I mean, so here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. And maybe somebody will have an idea, because we've been like going through this and the doctors and everything. The problem is it doesn't appear that the feeder is broken. So the idea is to find out how many pieces she might have, because the x-ray does show that she had more in her colon, and we need to make sure that moves through. But thankfully, whatever was left in her stomach went either direction. It's not in her stomach, which is the most dangerous part. But she's still not out of the woods. But the idea was like to find where the thing broke, so I could determine how many pieces might be still, out there. And the problem is it wasn't broken, right? So it must have just been leftover pieces from the manufacturing floor that were down in the feeding mechanism that I didn't notice, because it's not where you put her food in or anything.
Right.
And they just made their way down. It took a few months. And of course the company is, trying to help me and all that, but so that's been the problem. So
Man.
It's like,
Dawn.
what's left? Yeah.
Oof.
It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous, but she's real happy. She's not eating, but she's in good spirits. So we're just waiting for the next eagle to land over here so that we can bring that in and have the doctor go through it. Because I'm certainly not going to go through that.
My goodness.
Isn't that fun?
Well, prayers up for Tosh or something, I guess, whatever. So good luck, Tosh. Coming through this. I think you might actually outlive the cat after all, Dawn. It might just happen. So we'll see.
I know. I hope we go at the same time.
That'd be nice.
I might do that. Like
it'll be her going for your jugular, and you're bleeding out, and then you're like, no, Tosh, and then you both fall off a cliff together.
Strangler.
Roll on the side of the cliff. It's going to be a really amazing way of the end to a glorious life that you've had.
Well, hello. Hi, sweetie. So we have cute little girl on camera for those of you who are listening, not watching, and we have Lorenzo in the comments. Hi, Lorenzo, and welcome. So yeah, it's not pleasant, but well, they say they have 9 lives, so
there it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Tosh is gonna make it through. Tosh is strong.
She's stubborn, that's for sure.
There you go. Well, all right.
All cats, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You what?
That's all cats. If
All cats. So Brad, there's like a standing joke on this podcast about me and my cat. Are you familiar?
Brad's been listening.
I have been listening. Yeah. I
just can't win. Either I'm like being accused of having a killer cat, or I have a cat who's trying to die on me.
Oh man.
Oh God.
It's not your fault that you have a killer cat. It's not your fault, Dawn. Don't worry. It's not about you. So
it isn't. Nothing's about me. It never is. I'm just Mr. Magoo. Just tooling through life. So needless to say, I didn't consume any football content except for Tom Grassi's, of course, which of course I didn't make it to LA yesterday for this.
Oh, Dawn, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, I figured.
I can't leave
things for the post op. I was going to say, it sounds like you maybe didn't make it out there. So I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I was really bummed. But to tell you the truth, even people in LA were like stuck in traffic for 5 hours. So for me, it would have been a 2-day thing. And I was willing to do it for sure, but there's no way I could have left Tosh. She has to be monitored constantly. right now. So anyway, and they understood, and Tom and Johnny and Tyler sent their love to my Tashi. They sent me a message. So that was sweet.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, they love the gatos.
That's right, they do. The puppers and the gatos.
So I've been listening to Tom and watching, I'll just throw out a superlative, okay?
Okay, there we go. Early superlative. Let's do this, Dawn.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, the Rich Eisen interview that Tom did was so good. And I really appreciated how much time Rich gave to Tom, and he just let him be Tom and send the messages that he wanted to. And it was almost 25 minutes total. And so I wrote in the comments on the Rich Eisen show, thank you, Rich, for giving Tom a platform like this. It was really great.
Love that.
So, and I haven't even seen any of Wimbledon yet this week. So
oh my goodness. You were up on it before, so.
Oh my gosh. So I'm hoping maybe tomorrow I can relax and watch some tennis, and hopefully we're not going back to the vet tomorrow.
Oh, seriously. So Brad, are you familiar with Tom Grossi? You've been following what he's been doing lately?
I've been hearing what you guys have been saying about him raising money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, 30 days, and it sparked a reminder I need to go and send a little money his way for that cause after hearing about this. So I'm familiar in that respect. Yes.
Nice. Yeah, he just finished. He got to his 30th stadium yesterday, Dawn. Is that right?
It was yesterday.
And, so he's going to post his last two videos coming up really soon here. Yeah, and then of course, so he was on the Rich Eisen show when he was out there at SoFi Stadium, so it's right there. And then in talking to Rich Eisen, he was like, we can get you on the NFL Network too to do a little spot to talk about this as well, and hopefully get some more awareness and kind of get the word out there. And that's so kind. Just throwing that out there in the middle of the interview. So big props to Rich Eisen, but it was a really cool interview. And I think not to say anything bad about Pat McAfee, because I thought it was cool that Pat McAfee had him on too. But the way the difference in the interview styles are very stark, I feel like, because Rich Eisen, like you said, Don, just let him talk, versus Pat McAfee's 15 questions, go, and you have 5 seconds to answer before he cuts in again and asks 3 more questions, and it's man, you're great, you do amazing stuff, but will you just let me talk? That's how I think I would feel if I were Tom Grossi in that situation. So if I say, I don't mean to badmouth the guy, just very, very different styles there, and I really enjoyed the
very different styles. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
SoFi is right across the street from the NFL Network where they do their work, and so that was, Tom was like, sure. Can you imagine sitting there? You're already on the Rich Eisen show. And then that was very generous of him. Rich is a real professional, that way. Yeah. And Pat McAfee's a little more free form, let's say.
Yeah, it's a different style.
Yeah.
It's a different style,
So do you listen to Rich Eisen, Brad, or Pat McAfee's show on the regular? I don't. I was just curious.
I don't. I've caught the Pat McAfee show here and there, specifically the whole Aaron Rodgers explanation about being immunized versus vaccinated, and
some of the bigger Rodgers moments. Did you watch many of those Aaron Rodgers Tuesday segments throughout the seasons?
I can't say I did, but the whole immunization, I think everyone in Wisconsin was pretty fired up at that moment and watching, on one side or the other. And I think it was an event for most of us to watch.
That's hilarious. And a thing that I was really one of the reasons, apart from the fact that, I love you, Brad, you're my cousin, that I wanted to have you in the show is because you have a different perspective than Don and I do, because one, of course, you live in the belly of the beast. So that's a different perspective than, us in other states. And also two, Don and my, sort of interaction with the team and all that kind of stuff is really filtered through Twitter and YouTube versus the local news, So I think that there's a lot of questions I'll have as we go. I think, so what was that like hearing, what was that experience like when this thing happened, or stuff like that? Cause I just think that's super fascinating. It's the kind of thing where it's when I went to Lambeau for the Cowboys game, or anytime I'm in Wisconsin, when I see somebody wearing Packer stuff, I'm like, hey, I want to talk to the person. It's like, oh wait, I'm in Wisconsin. Everybody's wearing Packer stuff. It's not like when I see somebody at the grocery store in Cincinnati where it's like, hey, there's a Packers fan. It's like, no, actually, I'm surrounded by it. So it's just like a very different sort of, experience on a day-to-day basis as a fan. So, suffice to say, I'm really fascinated by the perspective you're going to have here, Brad. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it then. We have some questions for Brad, right?
Yeah, we do. We have some questions now. Brad, I understand you're not on Twitter, right?
I am on Twitter. I wouldn't say I'm overly active.
You are on Twitter. I thought you weren't.
Okay, because normally...
I did put it in the notes, but it's at bpick66. I'm going to go back up and make sure I'm handing out the right Twitter handle. Yep, at bpick, P-I-C-K 66 on Twitter. So
I'm going to go find you right now and follow you. So,
well,
dabble in like politics and messaging and following local news and things like that. But I'm not I'm not a Twitter addict or anything like that.
Not yet. We're gonna draw you in here, Brad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you don't know what you're missing. Well, normally what we do is we go through your Twitter, which is your Twitter biography that I can't say. Okay, did you say B-I-C-K, like Big Pen with a K?
B as in boy, and then pick, like pick.
Oh, B-Pick.
B as in Brad and Pick as in Pickett.
Yeah.
Because this guy, guess what? He has a cat up. I did B-I-C-K without the P. There you are. Okay. Okay, so your profile is a darling picture of you.
Yep.
That was taken on
that's
Father's
about
Day
it.
with my new hat that I got for Father's Day.
Nice.
Aww.
Ties into one of my superlatives for later in the show.
Meet church. Okay, so we're gonna skip the Twitter. Apart from all that we just mentioned. So we understand you live in the Appleton area of Wisconsin, which is not far from Green Bay. And so tell us about your journey becoming a Packers fan. Did you grow up there?
Yeah, so I was born in the Appleton area, and then we lived here for a couple years. My dad, Matt's family, his dad are all Madison natives. And then my dad moved up here. Not sure what brought him here, but grew up a Packer fan. We moved away to Virginia for a couple years. My dad traveled and had two more younger siblings. I have three older siblings from my dad's first marriage, most of which are Packers fans. I'm pretty sure there's one that might be a 49ers fan, but we won't hold that against her.
It is true.
Yeah. So, but
what's her name?
Her name is Wendy. Sorry.
What's
Wendy.
her name?
Yeah, I'm throwing you under the bus here, Wendy.
Exactly.
Wendy. Okay, we need to win Wendy over.
My brother Shane, diehard Packer fan.
Yep. You can count on Shane.
He and his boy Will, they're huge Packer fans. He married a 49ers fan, but we still love her too.
Okay.
But Packers were always the team. I was rifling through pictures today to try to find a picture of me at maybe like 2 or 3 years old, wearing I think it was like a Packers 79 like championship sweatshirt, wearing my dad's boots that like for him they were probably like ankle boots, but they came up to my knees, and then like Packer, like one of those kitty like hutch helmets. So it was a cute picture of me, much cuter than I am now.
Different kind of cute.
You're still cute. That's adorable.
Yeah, it was just always the Packers. And I remember, when I was younger, growing up in Menasha, the Park and Rec had an annual like Packers training camp summer trip. Go see the players, ride their bikes, get autographs. It was the Lindy Infante era when I was there. I think Magic might have been there. Sterling Sharp was on the team. So we got to do that whole experience. I wasn't one of the bike holders, but, just get autographs as the players moved from Lambeau over to the Hudson Center. And, it was a cool experience. And then my first Packer game, I don't know if Matt remembers this, but my first Packer game was with his dad and his Kathy.
My Kathy.
His dad's wife, my Aunt Kathy. And let's just say I was a teenage boy and there were some shenanigans. As I look back now, it might not have been the best to report back to Grandma Pickett, some of the things that happened, but so Gary, Kathy, I'm sorry. I did not know the ways of, snitches end up in ditches at the time.
Yeah, you need to tell Grandma about that stuff, man.
Well, tell us more.
R.I.P. to our grandma. Also, real quickly about our grandma Eileen, who is no longer with us, sadly. She we called her the Velvet Hammer. She was very, very stern, but she was very nice.
Yep.
But you knew there were lines you wanted to avoid crossing.
I mean,
but super sweet woman, though, of course.
Yeah, stereotypical fairy tale, movie grandma, in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Very kind and sweet, but you did not want to cross her. And when she said something she meant, that was it.
Yeah, Dad and Kathy bring the shenanigans, no doubt. So,
well, and so my parents always had a conversion van, full-size conversion van, bed in the back, stereo, funky lights. They were in a van club in the 70s with a bunch of their friends. And of course, to go to the game, your dad, Kathy, and then 4 other friends of theirs all went together. Mm-hmm. There were just, it was a good time. Yeah.
Awesome. How old were you? Do you remember? Or do you know?
I must have been 12, 13 years old at the time. It was a Bears game at Lambeau. And it was great. We tailgated and then went to the game. And honestly, I don't even remember if they won or lost, but it was a great time. So that was my first Packer game. My grandpa on my mom's side was one of the original season ticket holders with him and a number of his brothers. So my mom's family and I still share those tickets, and I enjoy going to a game, at least one game a season. I think this year I'm going to try to take my son James to the preseason game that's part of the green package. And then probably do one more regular season package or game. So yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. How old is your son?
He is 9.
Okay. So he can appreciate it enough. Do you know who Andy Herman is, Brad?
I know the name, and I know he's pretty big in the reporting world for sports and Packers, but I do not know him personally. Is he the one I heard was going to go full-time covering the Packers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Really excited for that.
The reason I asked, because I'm pretty sure when he told his story, Matt, maybe you can refresh my memory, but he was on our show, and I believe when he talked about when he was 9 years old at the game, he was starting to answer people's questions around him because he was such a student of the game, even as a 9-year-old. Wow. So perspective wise, your son should be able to pick up on something. I mean,
at least have a sense, at least. Yeah, no, Andy was memorizing statistics. He knew all kinds of in and outs of the game and stuff like that, well beyond his years, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember him talking about people around him asking him questions and him reciting statistics and stuff like that.
Yeah, and he's like, so yeah. Can you imagine?
Found his calling early.
Sorry?
Oh, found his calling early.
Calling
early. Oh, yes, he did.
Yeah, James, I think we're still searching for his calling, but I'm pretty sure it's not football stats.
I'm still searching for mine. It's okay. I have many callings. It changes every year.
That's what it is. Yeah. You have a whole collection, a whole drawer full of callings.
I really do. Okay. So, so let's see. What can you tell us about your experience living in so close to Green Bay in Packers country, and I mean, does it just feel old to you, or does it feel special?
A little of both, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It's, when you get to Lambeau, it is a special, place. Just the lore around it, the Ice Bowl, and the greats that have played there, the legends locally, as well as nationally. It's just so there's that aspect of it, and then there's I got to drive up to Green Bay. There's Lambeau. Yep. I'm just another 20, 30 minutes to where I'm going, and but game day traffic is a thing. You get caught on the highway, and that's about the worst traffic is at any given point around here. So that's one of the reasons I love living around here. Dawn, if you're in LA, I don't know how you and there does it, because I've been there and gone through it, and I could not handle it. Nope.
Right.
But no, it is special. The renovations and the improvements they've done over the years. I'd been to the former Packer Hall of Fame. I have yet to go through the new Packer Hall of Fame, but just the additions to the stadiums and the atrium. I remember going through the facility when I was younger and comparing it to what it is now. It's just light years beyond what anyone probably would have ever imagined. The original stadium and bleacher seats, and they still have the bleacher seats, which one could argue for better or for worse.
I'm not sure I love that,
but yeah, I mean it's great for the nostalgia. It's not so great when you're sitting like kind of half cocked next to your buddy and you got your arm around him because your seats are this big.
Yeah,
it's the experience.
Yeah,
no doubt. And I think I guess kind of what I'm wondering is it's probably pretty like well laced into just like the culture. I mean, even more so if you actually lived in Green Bay, of course, but you're obviously close enough that you feel the presence of it. So I guess like on a day-to-day basis, like where do you see like the Packers fandom just kind of around you? Like, is it do they talk about it on the news much? Is it like people just kind of, it's like a part of conversation? Like, what's that like just on a day-to-day basis?
I can't say much for television news just because I don't watch a lot of it. I mean, just between,
and I don't either actually, so like
good for you.
Yeah.
And the constant cycle and the attention grabbing, we're all going to die headlines, and there's not always a lot of positive news out there. So I don't watch a lot of news, but from what I remember as a kid, there was always segments as the summer like ramps up, Brewers, Packers, training camp. But I do listen to the radio on my drive home, and one of the stations around here, 107.5 The Fan, they will typically touch on the Packers, at least once an hour. And on the way home, they've got a great show too. And I'll listen to that if it's something that piques my interest about the team, or what moves they're making, or what's going on in the locker room, or questions that get asked. So I think they do like a daily Twitter question too, that obviously I don't pay attention to. But I hear them say they do our daily Twitter question.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I was wondering specifically about the news because of something I noticed when I was going to college, in Appleton in the late 90s, is I know that every time the news was on in the background, like if I was walking past somebody who happened to have it on, like, you go down to do your laundry in the basement of the dorm, and somebody just has the TV on. I feel like it's always talking about the Packers the whole time on the news, and of course that was the late 90s. So like Brett Favre and Super Bowl appearances and stuff like that, Super Bowl win. So, to me, it always seemed at that time like, man, this is like all that's happening around here. People are just super focused on the Packers, and I thought it was awesome. But I was like, it's like what's going on? And then when I was in town for the Cowboys game, I turned the TV on when I got back to my motel, actually, to be specific on that. I did not get murdered there, fortunately. But just turned the TV, and it was like once the news came on, I felt like it was just straight Packers the whole time. But of course, that was the night after a really exciting game, so it made sense. But just that thought of like, man, just to live here and be more like immersed in it just seems so tempting, so tantalizing.
Well, you've got both sides of it. You've got the people that are totally into it, and then you've got the people that they don't care. Like it just happens to be up the road. And then you got people who are probably in the middle like me. Like I'm not crazy about it, but I really enjoy it. And on Sundays, I want to be watching the Packers game. It's on.
Totally.
When I visit, I love to see like Matt LaFleur do a commercial or something like that, because you'll never see that out here. Never, ever, ever. And it's like, oh my gosh, why can't we have those commercials here? I don't watch television at all, so I wouldn't see them anyway. But it's kind of a novelty, and yeah, just the coverage of the team.
So
it's kind of cool.
You're saying that like the Rams or the Chargers, their coaches, they don't, or their athletes don't do like commercials for, I don't know, endorsing or promoting.
They do.
Local
They do, but I don't watch television. That's the issue. So if they do, yeah, I'm sure they did. Of course, I'm in San Diego County, so we don't have a team anymore. Because our community just of 4 million people just couldn't come up with enough football teams. It's embarrassing. So now the Chargers are in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, along with the Rams, but. Yeah, so I don't watch television. I don't watch television for the reasons you mentioned. And I haven't since I was pretty much an adult. Probably even when I was a kid, I wasn't a super big, especially news, because it freaks me out. I'm just too sensitive of a person to, it's like, I don't even know if I want to know. I do pay attention to true crime now, and I do know that there's a lot of true crime murders and stuff that goes on in Wisconsin that are pretty crazy.
I was thinking, Don, if you sensitive person listens to a ton of true crime, what are you talking about?
But that's a new thing, and it's not like every night. Like I choose, and I'm in the right frame of mind when to do it. So, and yeah, and I actually do it for therapy. But if you're watching the local news, you don't know what you're going to get. And you're going to be like, surprised. Yeah. So it's a big difference.
Is that therapy like my life is not the kind of train wreck that's happening in the courtroom setting? Is that the therapy that we're talking about?
Well, it's to help desensitize me a little, because I'm an artist, I'm creative, I'm very sensitive, and it's helping me desensitize a little and just be more aware and realistic about people. I've learned a lot in the last couple of years. It's only been a couple of years, really, right, Matt? I mean, it's been since even we started the podcast. So
yeah,
right. So I started a true crime show to share my thoughts. And I know, and I find humor in a lot of things too, which I think you have to with tragedies, right? But all I'm saying is I've just noticed Wisconsin has some real doozies of crimes.
Yeah, I mean, going back, you got Ed Gein and Jeffrey Dahmer just to start the conversation for sure. So
right. There's this one chick, I forgot her name. I just saw something a few weeks ago, and she I think she dismembered her lover, but then she was in court and she attacked her attorney.
What?
In court? Yeah.
Jeez.
Some people are just unhinged.
She's most likely needs a hospital more than needs help. Like a lot of this is, so it's very helpful for me to kind of learn about those differences in not that I can diagnose or anything like that, but just become a little bit more informed about mental illness versus just people who are just trying to murder other people for fun.
I did not know where the sentence was going.
Well, and then there was that kid in the Madison area who was pretending to go to school and lying to his parents. Oh, I forgot his
I
name.
think I heard about this one.
Oh my goodness. Now, I did watch his trial as much as I could take. Young man was just like living all kinds of lies. And then his parents finally found out, like, you're not in college. You're not going to, he said he was going to go to Florida and work for SpaceX. And they found out and he murdered them.
Oh my God.
And he hit their bodies like out in this farm area in Madison area outskirts, and it's like all areas that I've been to and stuff. So I forgot his name anyway. It just like it's so traumatic. I feel really feel for his brother. His brother was just like, I mean, nobody expected it. But there's just a lot of really weird ones in Wisconsin. There's a couple right now that are in the news. I haven't been watching them, so that's why I'm so vague about it. But I've just heard like, oh, this happened in Wisconsin. I'm like, oh, not again.
You know, Wisconsin, Matt, you're from here. You gotta maybe weigh in on this. I feel like Wisconsin they're like the butt of like jokes everywhere.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know that it's necessarily always deserved. I mean, when it comes to cheese and, you know, beer and the amount that the state drinks, okay, I'll give you those.
Yep, that's on point.
You can't argue with that.
Yep. But like, have either of you seen the movie Dogma?
I have not.
Kevin, oh, you guys got to go see it. Renegade Angels are banished to Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Okay.
And those two actors are very well-known actors that play these renegade angels.
Okay.
All right.
I'll give you one more tip. George Carlin is in that movie as a role you would never expect to see George Carlin play. So.
Oh wow.
All right. I'm intrigued.
Kevin Smith.
Let's say it's a Kevin Smith movie. Yeah. Guy who did what?
Is George Carlin God?
I'm not going to say anything further.
No spoilers. No spoilers, Don.
Okay.
Somebody who values movies and watching the movie and experiencing it, I think
Good for you. Good for you.
To the limit.
Well, I enjoy Milwaukee. I enjoy visiting Wisconsin. Racine is where I'm from, and it's a tough like area. I mean, there's some tough parts of Racine, but there's some just really beautiful parts of Racine too that I love. So, I think as far as crimes are, some of the states have more of like Florida calls it the sunshine law, where they keep all their trials are live streamed and open to the public. And I think Wisconsin has an element of that. And so some states don't have that. So it's not that they don't have crimes going on. They're just not out there on YouTube for everybody to talk about. So I think Wisconsin, you hear about Wisconsin crimes, certainly Florida, like every 5 seconds, something's going on there. So I think that might be part of it too. But I'm just thinking the crimes are particularly gruesome that I'm talking about, the ones in Wisconsin that I'm talking about. Just like,
you know what it probably is? It's probably the 9 months of winter.
I was thinking,
and the 8 months of road construction.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's the combination of like there's not as much to do in the cold parts unless you really love being in the snow every friggin' day.
right.
Combine that with like the easy access to like heavy equipment they might use in say farming or like agricultural sort of settings, combined with like all of the open space because they have to get out of the cities, man. Farmland, open space, small towns. You got for a murder, what do you need? You need motive, opportunity, and means, right? So like opportunity and means are like really in abundance there, I think. So if you got the motivation, then crime, there it is.
Yeah,
so I think Wisconsin.
I feel much safer in the city with a lot of people around me than out in the country.
More eyes to see things happening so they don't actually happen.
And screens. Of course, there's cameras everywhere. Here, at least. I don't know, probably everywhere now.
Yeah. Everywhere.
It helps. I think it helps.
absolutely everywhere. I mean, I guess I do really think though, like when I think about Wisconsin, it's like you said, Brad, like the cheese, the beer, the brats. I think it's kind of what people will gravitate towards if you're going to try to, like, I don't know, make some weird stereotypes, about the state and the people. But of course, I think folks also know about, like, the Northwoods and sort of the culture of there to some degree, which I think I've always been fascinated by, for sure, growing up in the south central part of the state. Um, yeah, so I mean, I feel like there's that weird duality in Wisconsin between like a couple of like pretty big cities. Milwaukee's pretty big, Madison's pretty good size, and like how, especially how like liberal they are compared to the vast majority of the farmland and stuff being, the opposite.
Right.
You get outside of city limits, you start seeing like, Trump signs basically. So that sort of dichotomy is the thing that I always really found interesting about the state.
Yeah, no,
It is.
I would agree, and I think one of the other interesting things about Wisconsin, and particularly Packer fans, is like we're generally very welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
Like on first glance, you meet somebody, or if you're an opposing team's fan coming into Lambeau, everyone's like, "Hey, come on in!" Like nobody's like looking at you sideways, like wondering what you're doing. Usually,
Right.
they'll buy you a beer, like, "Hey, welcome to Lambeau. It's awesome that you're here." Like, and we'll cheer against each other and like some witty banter back and forth, but it's not like you got to worry about getting like knifed or anything.
Right.
I mean, I'm not talking about any team specifically that we would think of for that, but
that's in Minnesota. Not at all. No, of course.
Raiders.
Oakland. But I think Wisconsin in general, like the Midwest nice. I don't know how much anyone's heard that term, but I think it is a thing. Like,
it's a thing.
Yeah.
If you know the area and you get to spend a little time and are around the people, I think most people will realize that is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's real. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely agree. And in fact, this week there was something I saw on Twitter. I don't know if it was like some sort of survey or study or whatever it was, but it, like, the results were that the Packers fan base was like by far and away the most welcoming fan base of any of them. And like people in the comments, like of the various postings that I saw, were like, yeah, I mean, you walk through, lot 1 at Lambeau, like with all the people tailgating, and like, if you're walking through with the other opposing teams, gear on, people are gonna be like, here, have a beer, have a brat, like just that super welcoming kind of thing. And like some people were pushing back, like maybe we should be less welcoming, maybe we shouldn't be so like welcoming to those people, because that's going to encourage them to like come to the stadium. And it's like, well, they're going to come to the stadium regardless, because it's like historic and it's it's a cathedral of football. But personally, I feel like when I read that, I was like, yeah, I love being part of a welcoming fan base. That's the kind of image I want to have. And speaking to that, that Midwestern nice thing, we've talked about this on the show before. I feel like there's a difference between like being nice and being kind. In some parts of the country, you have just one or the other. I mean, I think Minnesota especially is really notable for being nice but not necessarily kind, whereas like the New England, where I lived for 6 years, was like very kind but not nice, like very brusque in general. And I've always felt like Wisconsin actually has both those things happening, which is where you get that kind of welcoming thing where you're going through the checkout at the supermarket in your small town. For me, that was Bill's in Oregon, Wisconsin, and you'd have a conversation with the cashier, with the checker, for like 3 minutes, just kind of leisurely getting the groceries, all set and ready to go, all bagged. And I love that, man. I want to identify with that. I want to be somebody who is, albeit over in Cincinnati, a part of that sort of mindset and culture. I love it.
That's fantastic. And you are, Maddie. You are. You are that.
I try to be.
Well, and Matt, to your point about before, like seeing people wearing Packer gear, like around here, yeah, it's pretty normal. And it's just like, oh yeah, they like football. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. But like my wife has actually commented on this, where we'll travel and I will intentionally pack a Packers hat, Brewers polo, Wisconsin Badgers, like just because it kind of signals to other people that like either like the team, are from the area, or whatever. it generally kind of projects an approachable, air that people can say like, yeah, go Pack, go, or like, hey, Brewers are killing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Till the
Yeah,
end of the
nice.
season, and
Yeah.
Yeah, you either get like fellow Packers fans, and like when I see people out with Packer stuff on, like I would be like, "Go Pack, go!" and they'd be like super excited and like both like, "Hey, what's up?" And so it's either that or else people who are like Bears fans or whatever else, and you have that kind of like, "Oh, the Bears, blah, 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 Justin Fields," whatever, and you can kind of do that back and forth thing, unless it's a Vikings fan. And it's really a pleasant interaction in most cases because it's like you said, it's like wearing a signal out to other people like, hey, I clearly am proud of my team, and I bet if you talk to me about it, I'd be happy to engage with you, whether you're a fan of the same team or a fan of a rival team. I mean, honestly, like I'm wearing a Green Bay shirt right now, and like most of my t-shirts are Packer shirts at this point. Like it's kind of like over time morphed like from other stuff into mostly Green Bay, but just because of that, exactly, I love wearing the gear out in public and like starting conversations with people about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think because Green Bay is known to be such a historical institution for the NFL, I think that a lot of people identify with Lambeau, even if they're not Packers fans. They know what it is. They know what it's about. I mean, because of the Lombardi Trophy and all those little minor details. So it's easy to be gracious when you're kind of on the top of the hill too. I think Wisconsin nice in kindness is for real culturally, but in terms of being a Packer fan or wearing a Lambeau shirt or a Packers shirt or any kind of gear, I think it's just kind of widely respected, right? I mean, for the most part. I mean, unless you're really a hater, but we're not. I think for the most part, people appreciate it, even if they're like diehard, Chargers fans or Rams or. Yeah, I don't think I know any Raiders fans, to tell you the truth. I know some 49ers fans. But, so Raiders have that. I think I've mentioned Raiders are like the Vikings of the West Coast.
Yep.
They're and the reason I say that is when the Chargers were here, which wasn't that long ago, but when the Raiders would come to play the Chargers here, because it's drivable, I mean, it's like 8-hour drive. It's not super drivable, but those fans would come down with their black, typically really large black pickup trucks with their crazy, whatever that logo is that looks like a death skull and crossbones type of thing. I don't know. It's got a lot of black bones and stuff coming out. And they would, like, where I live is really laid back, beachy, and probably very few people going to football games. We're all surfing and at the beach and, flower fields and all that stuff. And then you'd see these black trucks coming and these people would be screaming out the window, like yelling at you. It was kind of scary. It was like threatening kind of stuff. So my view of the Raiders is always going to be kind of like, I don't, and you would hear about those fights that would start in the parking lots and stuff, or in the where they're doing, what are you calling it? I want to say backpacking, tailgating. God, what is wrong with me? I'm so tired. Anyway, tailgating. But I mean, I don't know. People in San Diego are so laid back. I feel like it mostly came from the Raiders, but I could be wrong. Anyone listening from the Raiders, please correct me if I'm wrong. I was glad. I think they belong. I think Las Vegas is perfect for them. I really do. Because it's just kind of showy, and I think it'll help that energy go in a little bit better direction from where it was. Yeah,
I just watched. Yeah, right, exactly. I just watched the Tom Grassi video where he was at their stadium, which I guess is known as the Death Star to some people, right?
The Death Star. I call it the Roomba.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've seen the exterior, like it's all just black.
Just black,
Yes.
blacker
Right.
than black.
I mean, in Oakland, wasn't it like their fans were like the black hole? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
It was
I
very
remember, like,
black.
the tunnel and stuff. They referred to
Yeah.
it as black hole, but
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean the stadium looks very showy. The interior, the stuff that he is showing in his tour and stuff, like extremely showy. That's a great way of putting it, Don. So
Right.
yeah, could be a very good fit.
I do like the flame they've got going.
Mhm.
That's in honor of I forgot his name, but somebody.
Al, the
Al.
former guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who really did make that team, happen. So speaking of cheese, what
Awesome.
what's your favorite cheese, Brad? Do you have are you like a connoisseur of cheese?
I don't know that I would call myself a connoisseur. I am a foodie, so I do enjoy cooking and like trying different dishes and things like that.
Cool.
When it comes to favorite cheese, I guess I have to go with I'm always a fan of a good Swiss cheese.
Mm.
So and we've got so many varieties to choose from.
Yeah.
around here.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of cheese shops, and I've seen some
I
really
know.
cool stuff. Chicken noodle soup cheese.
Hmm.
It's a thing. I saw it. Yep.
What?
I don't know.
Why not?
Carrots and who knows, peppers and chicken.
Wow.
But yeah, if you guys make it around here, I can take you to some cheese shops. They'd have stuff that would just blow your mind.
That's
Oh,
what you
yeah.
say. If we make it on there, because we are going to be there, of course. So it's worth saying here, in front of everyone, dude, Brad, thanks, man, for setting Don up with tickets to go see the Saints. We'll be there in Nina in Green Bay. So I'm actually looking forward to the three of us being in the same place at the same time. That's gonna be so cool.
It's going to
Yeah.
be so cool. A nice creamy baby Swiss is nice too. Yeah. I mean, that sounds really good. But yes, I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Creamy baby Swiss was what they called me in college, incidentally.
Really?
No,
I would have thought like Munster or like a Gouda at Lawrence.
Gouda-mat.
Yeah.
I like a nice Gouda too. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cheese in California. Ugh.
Not so much, huh?
Well, they say like Happy Cows. Happy Cows come from Wisconsin or Happy Cows are in California? I can never.
Happy
remember.
Cows are the California commercial. They really do have a lot of dairy
You guys
production
got a lot
here.
of different kinds of grass out there. I'm sure that. has
Right.
something to do
It's
with
just
it.
not. It's just
Different
not.
kinds of grass.
Yeah, it's just not. The cheese here is just not. Wisconsin, I like Vermont, but of course, and then French and
Mhm.
that. But
It's not a strong cheese culture. Because culture is one of the things.
oh
No way, really?
oh, Maddie,
I thought no way you wouldn't get that joke, guys.
how did I miss that?
that was dad level like 6 or 7.
Yeah, every day, man. Every day. My kids
Every
hate
day,
it.
but
That's
that's
awesome.
what we love about him. Okay. So I don't, just so you know, I don't like cheese curds because they squeak, and I don't like it.
That's why I love
Well, hold on now. The fried variety doesn't squeak.
Mhm.
You can dip them in ranch, and they even put bacon in some of them. So
Okay, well, I don't like ranch. I've never had fried. I would try that maybe,
Yeah.
as long as they don't squeak.
they do not. They're gooey like mozzarella sticks. You
Yeah.
had mozzarella sticks. Okay, so picture closer to that. And there
Okay.
are varieties of breading, but there's a ton of different spots we could take you for some fried cheese curds.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get so sick, but that sounds good.
No lie. I once stood at a Packer game in line for fried cheese curds because outside of one of the sports bars, they have like these vendors they'll grab cheese curds, toss them into dredge, batter them up, and throw them right in the fryer, like right in front of you. The line for the cheese curds was longer than the lines for the porta potties. True story.
Bring your
That
own
sounds delicious.
curds, man.
Yeah.
So they actually put breading on the cheese and then fry it. That's true?
Yep, you can either beer batter, you can bread them with like a panko or breadcrumb outside, but yep, you can do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually gain about 10 pounds when I go to Wisconsin. It's okay because I eat all my favorites when I go back. Cherry pie from Door County, my Wells Brothers pizza, hopefully. I say hopefully because they're a family business and they like randomly take vacations.
Oh.
Seems like they're always taking vacation when I'm there. I'm like, okay, so what other kinds of Packers or NFL? How do you get your content if you're not on Twitter? Do you listen to us and then just do what we tell you, or
do what we tell you?
Yeah, Matt said come on the show, and I said okay. I have to do what you told me. Yeah, like I said, catching radio on the way in and from work. I'll catch stuff there. I do see Twitter headlines from the local newspapers, the local TV stations, and then I've got people that I work with that are more involved in Packers or sports than I am, and I'll just pick up what that they tell me. So it's just kind of all around, and I take what I can and just enjoy the games when I'm watching them.
Yeah. So you're not like following one particular, which is fine. That's great. That's a great answer. Well, and you have radio there. And you mentioned
yes, Wisconsin has had radio for the last couple of years. Still kind of new.
As opposed to our radio here that doesn't cover the Packers. That's what I meant.
That is true. We are in market, as they say.
That's right,
exactly.
in market.
Exactly.
So you mentioned 107 The Fan. Is that
Yep, 107.5 The Fan. Their morning shows like the Bill and Rookie Experience, and then Sportsline in the afternoon on the way home. And they do shows at like Green Bay Distillery right outside the stadium on game day. So yeah, they're always talking sports and Packers and interesting pop culture stuff. I think they're a CBS sports radio affiliate, so they'll get like Boomer Esiason things and Jim Rome's on there during the day. And I think it's the one sports channel I have on my dial that as I'm flipping through, if something sounds interesting, I'll stop and listen.
Cool. I think Andy Herman makes appearances on some of those radio shows too. I'm not sure if it's that channel or not. Okay, station, excuse me. Okay, one final question before we get to your superlatives, gentlemen. So, Brad, what is the thing you love the most and one thing you would change if you could about the Packers fan base?
About the Packers fan base, ooh. One thing I love the most, well, I got to go about the fan base, like we were talking, the Midwest nice, the engaging, we're welcoming to other fans. We want people to come in and have a good time. We still want to beat their team, but it doesn't prevent us from, sharing our tailgating, wares, food, beverages, whatever. Even the Bears, that's the oldest rivalry in the NFL. They're both two storied like institutions, and I have respect for the Bears franchise.
Yeah.
A lot more respect than say the Vikings or something like that. But any team that comes in, nobody's really that serious. I shouldn't say that. There are a lot of serious people when it comes to football. But
yes.
At the end of the day, I think we're all just here to have a good time, and we want to encourage that environment. Every now and then some people get a little rowdy and out of line, but I'd say that's a small percentage of the fans. And then what thing would I change? Ooh, it's hard to improve perfection, but
Good answer.
one thing I would change, I think tempering expectations. That um, we've just been expecting to win for so long that it could be a rough go for a while if we're not winning the way we're used to, and
Right.
that could deter some of the fair weather fans for some time. But and just realizing it's growing period, and we've had a pretty long and good run with our previous two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So if they gotta adjust and have to take some losses in the process, then so be it.
As long as we see growth. Yep.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm so excited. And I think a lot of people are going to regret like dissing, I'm not going to say who, but certain quarterbacks from certain other teams or certain players, because they're new too. You don't know what you're going to get with newer players. So they may not be rookies, but yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun season. And it has been really heartbreaking the last few years because we did expect to win or do well, or at least show up in the end, and went through the whole season. It's like, what just happened?
That
So-
Lions game.
Yeah.
That Lions game was terrible. Yeah. I mean, it was a bittersweet thing for me because my company offers incentives to employees, and they have a box there that they have for the season. And I just happened to get to go to that game. So I was in one of the boxes for that game. The picture I sent you, Matt, was of me up on top underneath like the Jumbotron where they have the TV in the back. But that was disheartening.
Yes, exactly.
So disheartening. I mean, I still feel it. Like just the last 3 years, it's just like, come on. So, I mean, I think it's just going to be easier not to have any expectations and just
It'll be more fun. Yeah.
Just have fun and see the team grow. And it's just really fun to see how happy everybody on the team seems and cohesive, and there's not drama in the off season. It's just so refreshing. I don't care. I don't care. I just don't want drama.
That's such a good point though, Brad, about like a thing that I hope the fan base is quick to adapt to is that different expectations, being okay with not being on top for a little bit. If the Lions take the division, like, so be it. I was talking to a student the other day actually who mentioned because I always mention I'm a Packers fan. I have like Packers stuff in the background whenever I'm meeting with students anyhow. And so I always mention that, and talking to a student who's a Lions fan, and I was like, that's cool, man. Like, I'm really excited for your team. You guys are like a really exciting time finally, to be a Lions fan. Yeah. So it's just going to be a really interesting division. And I think there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of excitement because of that, a lot of chances to, discover this year, like what these teams, what their flashes will be, what their floor, what their ceilings are going to be like. And I'm excited about it. I know we're not going to win a lot of games, maybe we will. I don't know. But I'm going to have fun watching the games in a way that I haven't for years because it's been so like anxiety inducing because it's like they need to win. That's like
right.
Yeah, that's cool. And if we don't, I still want to watch a good game. So
yeah, it's going to be different. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. All right.
So guys, you each have 3 superlatives that you brought, right? So would you like to take turns, shoot back and forth, or do you have a theme, or how would you like to do it?
I'm game for whatever.
All right, let's go back. Let's go back and forth, Brad. You start. I'll go second. Okay.
Can't wait.
Right. We did touch on this earlier. Meat church. So back in COVID 2020, I think I got into smoking meats and ended up purchasing a Traeger grill and found Meat Church, Matt Pittman. He's a competition sponsored pitmaster out of I'm going to butcher this name. Waxahachie, Texas, I think, is
I
where
think that's right.
Sounds right.
his
Yep.
meat church shop is. He's got a spice line, and he makes all sorts of content on his website, meatchurch.com. They held cooking classes, people that want to up their barbecue game. And one of the things I really enjoy about Matt is, in his videos, he's always just trying to promote people getting outside and cooking outside, get out of the kitchen, do something different. And it works apparently because I think, was it last year? I did a whole hog on a cinder block pit with real wood-fired coals, and it was quite the experience. It was just kind of like this foodie goal to cook and prepare this animal this way that is very reminiscent of how people do it down south and have done it, since fire was brought to cook our food. And so Meat Church is one of my relatives. Tailgate Food is my tie-in for football.
Right.
They've got a Texas chili that is really good, especially if you're talking about a cold winter game. You want something warm. They've got a smoked queso recipe both of these are published to be made in the smoker, but you could easily do them, in another media, like through an oven or on a stove, or but adjust however you want. And then the last one is smoked cream cheese, and it's kind of one of my new favorite go-to appetizers. You literally take a block of cream cheese, oil, a little seasoning, and throw it on the smoker for hour and a half or so, and then it just gets kind of warm and absorbs that smoke flavor, and then dip crackers, veggies, whatever you want in it. It's really good.
Artichokes. It'd be great with artichokes.
I don't doubt that for a second.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
that sounds amazing. There was a barbecue competition show, and I can't think of the name of it, but it was on Netflix a couple of years ago, and that was one of the challenges they had, was to build like a cinder block thing and roast like an entire hog in there. Mm-hmm. And when I was watching that, I was like, man, I would love to try to do that, but that's so far beyond like any beginning level of comprehension of how to do that stuff. So to hear that, like, you actually did that, Brad, dude, I'm really impressed. I gotta say, like, that sounds amazing. Our friend Erin is in the chat here, and she says cream cheese makes everything better. Yes.
And Erin makes everything better too.
It's true though. It's true. She does.
I am a vegan, but I appreciate this. And I will say, once in a while, I'll eat some cheese or whatever. Go wild. Certainly, when I'm in Wisconsin, forget about it. I'll eat pizza and all that. But cream cheese is kind of like my go-to cheat food for veganism. So when you said that, I'm like, oh, yep. That sounds amazing. Okay.
And Erin mentioned too, the name of the show I think that I was thinking of is Barbecue Showdown. So she got that for me.
I did watch that show too. That had I can't remember his name. He's like a host on a couple different shows. I think they had him host like The Floor is Lava or something. He used to be on it was a car show with like, and he's a Southern guy. Mm-hmm. But I can't think of his name right now. I did watch that whole show. It was really good to see all the different tools and methods and all the different things that they did in that show and cooked. So I did enjoy that. Another good one is Chef's Table, the barbecue edition.
Yes.
Tootsie, like 85-year-old Texas woman who's a pit master shoveling hot coals.
I love it so much.
That's awesome. Crazy and awesome at the same time. And then there's a restaurant in that one in Sydney where they have no electricity, no gas in the kitchen at all, and all they do is cook with fire. So and that's kind of one of the reasons I have a goal of Sydney at 50. I want to go to Sydney, Australia when I'm 50. So.
It's a great place to visit. I haven't been, but I know lots of people who like to go there almost every year. So Meat Church is also on Twitter, and they have 96,000 followers.
Ooh,
Yeah.
go ahead, Meat Church.
Meat Church. That's so funny. I mean, it sounds good, and I won't even touch meat. Although I will say, like when I'm on vacation or something like that, I will try different things, and I like to try to eat a little different things just so I can digest them. Because if you completely stop, years ago, I was such a militant vegan, and I couldn't, when I needed to try and eat some fish or something for health reasons, I couldn't digest anything. So now I just sort of once in a while I'll go off the plan. And so now you're getting me really excited for Wisconsin. I don't know about going to Meat Church, but I'll try a few things. Maybe smoked cream cheese just sounds amazing.
Amazing, yes. Oh, and I'm all hungry for barbecue.
Thank you for that one, Brad. Maddie, what do you have?
Yeah, so I have three. My first one is best question. So, people at times may have noticed that I like to submit questions to mailbags and calls for questions for podcasts, stuff like that. I really take a lot of joy in trying to like make a good question. So, of course, you also have the thrill as a listener when they do actually use your question. That's always a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But this week for the Athletic Football Show, they've been doing like a Monday mailbag kind of thing with, Robert Mays and Nate Tice. And Wendell Ferreira, who is one of the most outstanding follows in Packers Twitter. And I think I just got to say, like, deeply underrated. I don't know why people don't talk about this guy more, because his stuff is extremely high quality all the time. We've talked about Wendell before on the show a few different times in the past. But anyhow, Wendell submitted a really great question to them because, as somebody who is a Packers fan, but also tries to pay attention to like the national conversations, at times I've been confused, like, why do people talk down about Mike McCarthy? I had to make sure I didn't swear there, but why do people like talk about him in such a disparaging way when it's like he's a very successful coach? And yeah, things didn't like end well in Green Bay for a number of factors, but like he's done a lot of good work and he's been very successful. So like, what's the deal with that? So anyhow, the question Wendell asked is like, why is it that like on the Athletic Football Show, on Mina Kimes show, like whenever they talk about the Cowboys, they'll say like, oh, but Mike McCarthy alert, like he's gonna screw things up or whatever. Why is that a thing we do when he has basically the same record as Sean Payton? And people talk about Sean Payton in like reverent tones, like he's gonna do these amazing things to turn the Denver Broncos around, like he's gonna come in and like shape up the culture and stuff. It's like they have the same record basically. So like, what is the deal with this? And I've wondered that for a long time. So to have somebody ask that and then you hear, national folks explaining like where that's coming from, what's informing that sort of take about McCarthy, it was so good. It was so good. And like, they broke it down in a way that really made a lot of sense to me. Maybe kind of rethink a couple things about both of these coaches. And they were like, it's a little overblown. Like they admitted that, like it's kind of partially for comedic effect or whatever, but it's just a really great question that Wendell asked. They got a really great answer out of them, like led to a really good discussion. So I really appreciated that one. That was awesome.
Sorry, I had myself on mute. I caught bits of that. I didn't get the whole thing because I was obsessing over my cat.
Yep.
But what I thought about is all these coaches now, and I don't think McCarthy was as quick because he's more of an old timer, but they have their own publicists, right? Mm-hmm. And agents and all of it, right? And so sometimes I just think it's just the agent doing their work, and I think Sean Payton has really been benefiting from that for a long time.
That's interesting. There's a movie about him. There is not a movie about Mike McCarthy. I hadn't thought about that, Don. That's a good point.
Right. Well, when you're from Southern California, you think about these things because everything's like, you know what I mean? It's like more on your mind. Like I always think about this. Like who's that person have working for them in the background that they're making it. Yeah. I don't know. Just my 2 cents.
Well, Brad, what do you have for your next one?
So my next one is a book series that I really got into recently. The author is Jack Carr. C is in Cowboy, ARR. And the first book is The Terminal List, and it is actually an Amazon Prime series with Chris Pratt, and Chris Pratt did a fantastic job. Jack Carr, the author, is a former Navy SEAL, and his author style it's great. It's very direct, descriptive, and for people who enjoy the Tom Clancy, the Jason Bourne type stuff, these are books written by a guy who was in the Navy SEALs, Special Warfare. He's in that world, and so he's got 5 books out now, I believe, and the 6th is coming. And I pretty much just went back to back with his audiobooks because they were so good. And yeah, I just really enjoyed his storytelling, the characters that he introduces you to, and some of the moral challenges that these characters go through. Great series, and I would highly recommend it to anyone who's into those types of books. And written by a former Navy SEAL, it's fiction, but inspired by a lot of real world events, tactics, themes. So yeah, I would definitely promote those to anyone.
I love that.
Yeah, I heard a lot of good things about the series. Did you say it was on Netflix? Is that where it was on?
Amazon.
On Amazon?
Prime.
Okay.
Yep,
Prime,
Amazon Prime. And I think they're coming out with a second, I don't know if it's a second season or if it's kind of a spin-off, but one of the characters I think it's more focused on one of the characters from the first season, but not Chris Pratt's character as the central story point. So
yeah, that sounds fantastic. I mean, like I said, I heard the show was really good. I didn't actually realize it was based on books, and I'll be honest, I don't read a lot of books anymore. I've turned into an illiterate old man, but basically, books that are like that I read in the past that are like people who are bringing their expertise into it, I think it just makes for such a richer story. So it sounds like awesome summer reading. You take that to the beach, take that to the pool. It sounds incredible.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Matt. Maybe for your vacation coming up.
Maybe.
It's interesting, Brad, that you brought that up because it wouldn't normally be my style, right? But I clicked on it, and I first of all, I love Chris Pratt. Like, I love him. But I'm kind of tempted now because you recommended it. At least I might check out the Amazon series. But when you said Jason Bourne, I often talk about the behavior panel on this show. Not often, but occasionally.
Come up, yeah.
Because they're the ones who got me like thinking about true crime and watching criminals have their interviews with the police, interrogation, and my show's called Intero Talk, as I go through interrogations and look at what they're saying and listen to what they're saying. And I'm one of the 4 panelists on the behavior panel. These guys are super high level of what they do, and the fact that they just do this show for free on YouTube is such a gift. But one of them basically trains Jason Bournes of the world.
Ooh.
I mean, like these guys are I have learned so much from them, and so I'm kind of intrigued. So I might check it out. Thank you.
Absolutely, definitely recommend it. Matt, one note: don't play it in the car with the kids unless headphones. There might be some strong language in that one.
Good tip.
Oh,
good tip.
okay.
I mean, my kids have heard the words, but still, definitely a good tip to know where that's appropriate. So appreciate that.
Yes, your kids.
All right. Well, I'll get to my next one then. So my next superlative is coolest news. So this is going out to Tyler Brook. Tyler Brook is a podcaster, writer, author. He has a book he wrote about the science of sport. He is had been one of the people on one of my favorite podcasts, Reporting is Eligible, with Paul Noonan and Matub and J.R. Radcliffe. He's on the show a lot, and so he got a new gig. This is really exciting for him. He's going to be the editorial director for the website FanBuzz, which is through Publishers Clearinghouse. And so it's a website that like is kind of underdeveloped. And I think like what he's going to bring to it is to like really grow it, make it into something that people are excited about. Aaron mentions also, incidentally, Tyler was a guest on Last Call Lambo, which is a fantastic podcast that Aaron does. And so that was a good episode. It was with him and Justice Mosqueda, if I remember correctly, who is fantastic. So anyhow, yeah, just Tyler Burke is one of those guys who's just like super knowledgeable, always has good takes, does great work with podcasts and his writing. So like this news is really cool because he's going to be able to like just really dig into something, grow it, bring his expertise and his very sharp mind to it. So I'm really excited for him.
That's fantastic. And it's a startup. It's a startup. I mean, or kind of a new, because I'm just looking on their Twitter page. It's only like a very small number of followers. So it's almost like a startup, right? The FanBuzz.
Pretty much, yes. It's there's not a lot that's been done in the past, so
exciting.
It's kind of like a fertile ground to build something.
I love that. I love that. And a talented person in a startup, that's just, to me, because I'm really entrepreneurial, so that's super exciting. That's more exciting than true crime, for sure. And safer.
Yeah.
For everyone.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Maddie. I love it.
Yeah, good stuff for him. Quick side shout out, Aaron. Aaron, I love you too. All right. So Brad, what do you have for your last one, my friend?
My last one is a podcast that I really enjoyed and has kind of transformed over the years. And anyone who's a fan of Dirty Jobs, the show from Discovery, or the Dangerous Catch, knows who Mike Rowe is. He's got a great foundation that does a lot of promoting of tech school training, jobs in the trades. But he's got a podcast called The Way I Heard It. And the format originally started out as short stories. They kind of walk you through the story, and then there's a reveal at the end, and it kind of takes you in a different direction than you might have been thinking originally. I think if I remember correctly, he kind of mentioned that it was an homage to Paul Harvey? One of the old great broadcasters. Yeah. I want to say it was Paul Harvey.
Let's go with that.
Radio, yeah.
And
that makes sense.
That's kind of where the tagline comes from at the end of his early episodes as well. That's the way I heard it, and that's kind of the sign off. But so many interesting stories. Mike is he's a very talented writer, performer. You get one of the cool things about the evolution of the podcast is you get to kind of hear Mike Rowe's evolution from growing up in somewhere near Baltimore to working at the QVC selling like kitchen appliances to performing at the opera, and then barbershop quartet and all these places that he's gone throughout his life, and then ending up on Discovery Channel and doing all the things he does now as this public celebrity kind of guy. I just really enjoyed the original format, and then it shifted to more of a long format, kind of like this, where he'll have conversations with guests, and the people that he brings on are thoughtful, and they just have good conversation. And he does the show with his friend that he's had for a long time, who is his producer, and he even brings his mom, who's like now an acclaimed author. She started writing books. I think she had always written. I think she was an English teacher. She had always written throughout her life, and then as she got older in like her 70s, 80s, actually got published and became like a best-selling author. And so she's like America's favorite grandma, and comes on the shows occasionally. But I definitely recommend for Matt, for your family trip driving down, you could do The Way I Heard It. Generally, it's pretty family friendly, and you'll hear some interesting stories. There's some about Walt Disney. There's some about Chicago, jobs in Chicago. there's one about NORAD, and I don't want to give too much away, but there are definitely some good sports episodes in there as well. So
Nice.
Mike Rowe, The Way I Heard It, one of my favorite podcasts.
I love that recommendation. Sorry, go ahead, Dawn. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, I love your superlatives, Brad. You brought it. I'm just like,
Yep.
Yeah, such a great variety, great recommendations. You're expanding our horizons a little bit. Sorry to interrupt, Matt.
Oh no, I was interrupting you. Sorry. I was gonna say that's such a great recommendation because Micro is so charismatic and just like really fun to like listen to and to watch. Like I've been flipping through channels before and I come across like one of his shows and like it's just like fun to watch him because he just seems like such a good dude. Like I would love just to get to know him, hang out with him a little bit, hear some of his crazy stories, that kind of thing. So having a podcast that he does, man, that sounds awesome. I could definitely see checking that out and then really enjoying it. So solid recommendation, Brad. Appreciate it.
And Maddie.
Right, well, my last one here, then the last superlative for us for the night is going to bring us kind of back around to where we started because we were talking about Tom Grossi at the top of the show.
Oh, yeah.
So, one more time, like, man, congratulations to Tom and everything he achieved this month, going to all of the stadiums, meeting fan bases, like in every stop, connecting with people, spreading positivity, getting people like to meet each other, have these great conversations, and of course raising money for a really important charity. So, just huge congratulations to Tom for achieving that, to Johnny Barks for traveling with him and being the videographer and the companion and the guy who probably helped, Tom to stay sane through it all. And, also a side shout out to Tyler Herrick for doing a lot of the work in the back end, kind of behind the scenes as well. Friend of the show, Tyler Herrick. And so, all that's awesome. And the thing I want to mention here is, of course, he's doing a video for each of the stadiums he's gone to, for each of the cities he's visited. And this week, the one for his visit to Denver came out. And I watched all the ones that come out so far. So it was the best one. And it was the best one because he got to finally meet his friend Brandon Perna, who does, what's it called? That's Good Sports. Which is like a lot like what Tom Grossi does, where it's like a YouTube channel and he makes videos, and they've done a lot of collaborations over the years. So they've become really good friends over like 8 years of doing collaborations. So finally, this was Tom's chance to meet him and his wife, who also does a lot of cool stuff as well. So like they've all known each other for a long time. So for them like to meet up and just the capturing of this moment of them seeing each other and them hanging out and them just like doing stuff together, it was friggin' beautiful. Like it just, I think I tweeted something about like, I'm not crying tears of joy for this beautiful stuff. Like you're crying tears of joy. Like it just made me so happy. And I was just sitting there just like, at lunch in my office, on campus, just little tears streaming down my face watching it, because it's so great. And, the fact that like, sports, or any kind of fandom, not just sports, let's say anything you can be a fan of, how it can bring people together, and like form these beautiful relationships like we have, Dawn, like you and me, I don't know, it just makes my heart sing, and so this video was it really captured that really, really well. And I know that Brandon also did one for his channel, kind of like the corresponding companion piece. So I want to actually go back and find that as well to kind of see how it looked like from their side of the camera, I guess. But it was really great. And like all these videos have been so good. And so I'd say if anybody out here is listening where they haven't checked out the Tom Grossi 30 and 30 videos, they're like 7 to 16 minutes each. So like, a nice like quick watch for each of them. Start at the beginning, go through them. They're incredible. I mean, we're talking like Mike Rowe and his like meeting people from around the country and just like talking to people. And that's what this is like. It's Tom Grossi going around the country and meeting people and having these conversations and like, just kind of just spreading the positive vibes. I mean, a thing that I mentioned about a couple weeks ago when I met Tom when he was in Cincinnati is just like the energy he's putting out into the world is phenomenal. And like the meetup that I was at, it was just people just having the best time listening to him tell his stories and like connecting with each other. And it was like, man, Tom Grossi is running on like 3 hours of sleep right now. And at this point, like he's even more sleep deprived. Well, at this point, he may be sleeping actually, because he's done with 12:30. So hopefully he's getting some rest finally. But the fact that he was able to like make it through all of that and power through, I think is just, he was running on good vibes because he was putting them out and he was getting them back from people. And It's beautiful. Yes, it's beautiful.
So fantastic. I was watching them, and then I was, because there wasn't an exact time when you knew they were coming out, and then I kind of binged watched the whole one through whatever, like last week, and I didn't think he had a playlist. I'm like, why can't I find the playlist of just the 30 and 30? So I made myself a playlist.
Oh, nice.
And I found his playlist. But anyway, so I have a playlist too. It's like that way I can always go back and just like feel good time, just listen to all of them, watch them all. But they're delightful, each one, and they were so well done. Yeah, shout out to Tyler. Super well done. All the shorts that he did.
Yeah.
And of course, shout out to Johnny Barks for doing the videos.
Yeah.
It was a great collaboration between those three. I'm still really bummed. I'm super sad right now because they were so close and yet so far. I noticed that Johnny had a San Diego cap on at the beach, and I'm like, what beach are they at? Like, are they down here? But I really, down in San Diego. So anyway.
All right. Well, folks,
I'm a mom of a cat.
That's right.
So
I'm feeling like we've gone on for a long time here, Brad. We kept you for a long time, and we really appreciate that, man. So we should probably get to wrapping it up here. Before we do, though, Brad, Dawn, do you have any other final thoughts you want to throw out there?
Brad, what do you have to say? Any final thoughts before we wrap her up? So nice to have you here. We really appreciate you coming. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great to meet you too, Dawn, and it was great to see Matt. No, I really appreciate you having me. I'm literally an average Joe football fan. I can't compete with like stats and knowing what's going on with the team the way you guys can. But I appreciate all the work you do, and it's fun to listen to, and to be able to be a part of the discussion is fun. So. The only thing that I had in mind there when Matt was talking about, bringing people together, is like going back to tempering expectations for the season. Just that, even if they lose, if we're still enjoying the game together, like wherever we're at, if we're at Lambeau, if we're tailgating, if we're in our living rooms, basements, man caves, wherever, getting to enjoy the games together, really the best part of it. And we can just spend time with the people we enjoy.
That's so well said, Brad. Totally.
Absolutely.
I've mentioned many times on here, when I'm watching the game, I'm texting with my dad the whole time, back and forth. And that's such an important thing for me, is to have that connection, with my dad and with Kathy, about this kind of stuff. Yeah, enjoying it together. Well
right.
said.
Right. And everyone has a voice, whether it's people like Dusty, who knows so much and has so much in his head to offer, or every single fan like us. Like everyone has I think that's what I like about the Packers fan base, is it doesn't matter how much you know. It's more about how much you love the Packers and how much you love the game, and the history. So your voice matters, and I love what you brought tonight. So thanks again for joining us.
Yeah,
Thanks
Brad.
for having me.
This was awesome, man. I'm really glad that we had you on here. It's fun having the conversation with you, and this was great. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I'm going to bring it home, folks. Friends, of course, you'll find links in our show description for everyone we mentioned, so please check it out. Also, we'd love to have a chance to interview you and shout you out if you're a subscriber and a football fan. If you'd like to nominate someone to be a guest on our podcast, please let us know. Our DMs are open on all the social platforms. And folks, when you subscribe to our podcast, you help us to keep spreading the love in our community. And the best way to help this podcast grow is by sharing it with your friends and family.
Yes, Maddie, that's right. Because we love you. We're so glad to know you, to be fans of you, and have the luxury of being fans of the most storied team in the NFL. We appreciate your support, your subscriptions, and sharing our pod. And we look forward to seeing you next week on
Hey, we like your pod.
Thank you. Football in general comes down to discipline and people owning their roles. And when you aren't disciplined or you go outside the scheme, bad